I know I hit the gong and sometimes people on Zoom cannot hear it. Yeah. But I'll be doing it 3 times and next 2 times also. So welcome to monthly Dhamma talk and meditation of Cambridge Peace House. This evening we will talk about Buddhism and Psychedelics. But before we do that, I welcome you to join me for a brief guided meditation so that we prepare our minds um, with a welcoming attitude to learn something or hear something. You may not always agree for what you hear, but you can practice patience and listen as I speak. So, with that intention in mind, I welcome you to close your eyes, or you can keep your eyes open if you like. But if you are like me, I would close my eyes, and that way I can focus inwardly on my experience. We can start with few deep breaths, breathing in and breathing out. And as you breathe in, you can mentally say in. And as you breathe out, you can mentally say out. You can notice any tension, any tightness anywhere in your body, and relax as you breathe in and breathe out. As you relax that way, you notice also that you hear sounds and you do know that there is no knowing of what the next sound is going to be like. With that understanding, you can also pay attention to the sounds in wherever you happen to be at this moment. Pay attention to them as they come and go. Welcome them, let them behave any way they like, and then they will vanish when you remain unassociated with them. You can also notice the feelings that are present, that are noticeable at this moment. See the arising and disappearing of those feelings, mostly pleasant feelings, and sometimes unpleasant feelings, and also neutral feelings. Now you can ask what your mind is doing at this moment or at each moment as you pay attention to expanding your awareness, and that way expanding mind's limits of knowing beyond what is known to you. When everything becomes stilled, you will notice that naturally you will pay attention to your breathing pattern that is moving, the only moving thing right now. When everything else becomes so stilled, calming your in breath and out breath, and that way calming your entire upper body, you continue to pay attention to your inhaling and exhaling. expanding your awareness beyond your body. You can still continue to breathe in and breathe out, aware that it is happening right now. Letting your awareness rest in the radiance around you, little away from your body, the vastness of this universe, your surrounding, making a mental halo around you and allowing light of you radiate in different directions, mindfully and fully aware about your intention to let things go, let things be, to experience just this moment without being burdened by the past or future. It is just this moment. Remain absorbed in silence. Just silence. Silencing your mind, silencing your thoughts, silencing the chatter. Just being the silence. You can now slowly come out of your meditation, and with a deep inhaling and exhaling, feel the body again and feel the fingers of your hands, getting a sense of touch and also opening your eyes, ending your meditation. I will sound the gong, but I know you can't hear it. Hello, Rick, and hello, Lorraine. Um, so today, out of personal interest, I thought I should talk about Buddhism and psychedelics, But I know Lorraine has to leave at 6, but we are recording this whole event and we will upload this to YouTube today itself. If you have any interest in learning more about what we shared, feel free to go to our YouTube channel and you will find it there. I must say, before I say anything, that this is out of personal interest that I wanted to talk about psychedelics, and I don't have any experience of using them. So, whatever you hear is what I have gathered from all the sources and people I have talked to. It is a subject that is thought provoking. And I know also that Harvard has received a grant, a gift from Gracias Family Foundation, and they announced it in last October. So they are working on psychedelics, especially on society and culture, perhaps their impact on society and culture. So everyone around the world talk about psychedelics and their therapeutic purposes. And I need to understand, I personally like to understand their use, their therapeutic uses. And as a monk, if somebody asked a question from me about the use of psychedelics, I thought I should know something about them. So there is some connection between wellness and psychedelics, and I need to make sure I need to learn a little bit about wellness aspect of them and the uses. So before I say anything any further, I thought I could give some definitions on psychedelics. Psychedelics are drugs that alter a person's perception of reality and cause them to see or hear things that do not exist or are distorted. These drugs are either synthetically manufactured or derived from plants. And right below that definition, there was another thing that I captured. So psychedelics are relating to or denoting drugs, especially LSD, that produce hallucinations and apparent expansions of consciousness. Perhaps that is where we find a link with Buddhism, because Buddhism is about expansion of consciousness. Some of it I try to incorporate in today's meditation. And that expansion aspect in Buddhist teachings is done with more application of mindfulness, so that you are in your mind, but in a controlled environment, so to say. Psychedelics is also denoting or having an intense, vivid color or a swirling abstract pattern. You see, if you Google about psychedelics, different artists or people who have used psychedelics have presented these patterns that they experienced in their experience of using psychedelics. So a question that a friend of mine asked was, what would be the experience of a meditating person beginning to use psychedelics versus a non-meditating person beginning to use it? That is an interesting question. So a meditating person already has some experience of meditation, mind, six sense faculties, some stillness, experience of stillness, expansion of consciousness, some cultivation of the wholesome aspect of developing the mind, and meditating person also has some understanding of the mind. And if that meditating person is a monk, or a Buddhist practitioner, they normally have some language to talk about what they are experiencing, because they often hear or listen to Dhamma talks, so they have developed some vocabulary, some language, technical terms to describe what to expect and what they are experiencing in their meditation. So a non-meditating person who has no experience of meditation before, then will have a completely different experience of psychedelics if they were to use it. So we need to see that the meditating person and non-meditating person may experience it differently. So that is very interesting. Someone rang the doorbell. Not sure if I should go and let them in. Some people may think that we start at 6 o'clock because other programs start at 6 o'clock. Could you stay for a minute? Maybe I should let them. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. So he thought we start at 6 because our Monday meditation started. Other meditation started. Yeah, we were talking about Buddhism and psychedelics.
Oh, cool.
And the meditation part is over.
Okay.
But yeah. So is the use of psychedelics encouraged in Buddhism? That is also a question that I asked myself. And coming from Sri Lanka and practicing as a Buddhist person from my childhood up until now, we have never heard of using psychedelics in Buddhism. But that is my Sri Lankan experience. But I hear in other Buddhist traditions elsewhere, in some tantric traditions, they may have used psychedelics and they may have a history of using them in small groups, and they have a teacher who maybe who monitors what is happening with these individuals, and who may be also considered a medicinal guru in some ways, who knows more about Buddhism and also the impact of psychedelics on a human body. But I am not a teacher like that, so I don't have any experience, but I have also gathered some other thoughts that I will share little later as I come to the end of this document that I have prepared. And in Buddhism, could it be regarded as the breaking of the fifth precept? So it's commonly known that Buddhism encourages people to keep their precepts. For lay people, we recommend 5 precepts: not killing or harming living beings, not taking what is given, and not engaging in sexual misconduct, and not telling lies, harsh speech, or stuff like that, and not taking alcoholic drinks or intoxicants. So if you were to take psychedelics in that category as an intoxicant, then you are breaking a precept. You are breaking the 5th precept. And also, I have gathered here that some people have turned to Buddhist path after an intense psychedelic experience, commonly known as ego death. So I had to Google what that actually means. So what I found so far is that ego death is an experience in which you lose your sense of self by cultivating a deep sense of awareness. As you go deeper into a meditative or psychedelic state, you might feel yourself becoming one with everyone and everything around you. And that is also somewhat similar to what a meditating person would experience without using psychedelics, but there's more control, and there's also a goal that you achieve this after this experience. Like you experience the first higher knowledge, and that is suggestive of there must be a second higher knowledge that you should be targeting after that. So that is more controlled, more knowledge-based. Usually in Buddhism, a learned Buddhist disciple is highlighted in the teachings. A learned means someone who has heard from a monk what to expect in their practice. Maybe we wait to the end, and so you can understand more, maybe. That said, to some people, psychedelics did not serve any purpose at all, and they gave up using it for good because they felt bad in their bodies, so they did not think that it helped them at all, and they gave up. I think fear factor is a huge thing for them, that this is not good. I don't know what I'm getting to, and I'm going to give up on this. So if you were to think of meditation alone, meditation helps us to simply rest in a state of pure consciousness that is achievable with right practices and devotion to a path. That is basically what a monk would say, that devote to the middle path, and that starts with right understanding, and right understanding leads to right thoughts, right concepts, and when you have right thoughts and right concepts, your speech becomes right speech, and right speech sort of is conducive to right action in your life, and then to choosing a right livelihood, and right livelihood leads to right effort. That means there's wrong effort. So right effort, wrong effort, I think we can put psychedelics into wrong effort. That is infused to you, not brought up by your own mental exertions or cultivation or development. And right effort leads to right mindfulness. And I think when we look at psychedelics, I don't think there is a place for right mindfulness there. That there's no control, maybe. That is what I assume. When someone is under influence, and therefore there is also an addictive aspect to psychedelics when it's not monitored with right mindfulness. So, and then right mindfulness leads to right stillness. So you are in a samadhi, and there is a lot of wisdom involved in that. So with wisdom, you know what state you are in, and you know what your next goal is, and you do have a sense of ignorance and eliminating all of that ignorance through your practice and path. So that is also expected. But then I also looked at the brain side of it because a friend of mine does research on it, the impacts of psychedelics. So he, not him actually, Google said, both sitting meditation and psychedelics can get the brain out of default mode network. So that brings the question, is there a real relation between sitting meditation and using psychedelics? But also I asked the question, what is this default mode network? So that is best known for being active when a person is not focused on the outside world. And that is like a meditation state. We don't focus on the outside world very much, except in some Zen Buddhist practices, they keep their eyes open but facing a wall, but with very minimal distractions. And the brain is at a wakeful rest. So that is the abbreviation for default mode network is DMN. And that this part I don't agree, but in meditation we don't do daydreaming or mind wandering. That is not what we actually do. We actually silence the mind, sort of. But DMN, that part seems to be active in daydreaming and mind wandering in the brain studies. And it can also be active during detailed thoughts related to external task performance. Other times that the DMN is active include when the individual is thinking about others. This is like loving kindness meditation, and thinking about themselves, remembering the past, and planning for the future. That planning for the future is not something we do in meditation because it can make someone anxious about what you are planning. If you have to submit a paper for your school, then that creates some anxiety. Oh my gosh, I should get to writing this paper and so on. And could you please close the door for me? Because our friend in the guest room is not very well today. I also like to bring up this quote that I have remembered from, this is from Donald Hebb. He said, neurons that fire together, wire together. And this is something he said in 1965. And a lot of studies have come and things may have changed over the years of people doing research on brain and taking images of the brain. But this is so interesting to me, as we often talk about anger, and someone who gets angry continuously may train their brain to react in a certain way every time, and over the, the years of doing that, it develops a certain pattern in their brain regions, and that may be how they respond to tense situations all the time, like having too many thoughts at once and not knowing how to respond to one of those, and also losing clarity of mind. And I think this also made me think about the amygdala region of the brain. That is what produces adrenaline all the time. Like when someone receives a question paper in school, maybe amygdala thinks that it is a situation to run away from, like imagining a tiger, and that there's a lot of adrenaline rush in that person. But you do some deep breathing at that moment, and then your what they call the prefrontal cortex is now able to think clearly and answer the question. Know what I mean? That it's not amygdala anymore. It's not run away situation anymore. It is face it, and this is where to begin, and you can do this kind of thoughts, more positive thoughts, because our mind tends to imagine things that does not exist and create an illusion of fear often. But some positive affirmations help us to think that it is not actually there. Back to psychedelics. There are also therapeutic uses of psychedelics. Psychedelic substances may have therapeutic uses, and I'm not sure if I will say this substance name correctly, but I think it is psilocybin or psilocybin, the main active compound found in magic mushrooms. And LSD and mescaline, the main active compound in the peyote cactus. I have no idea what that is, but I can imagine the type of cactus for now. Also, people have used psychedelic drugs for treatment of addiction, anxiety, major depressive disorder, post-traumatic stress disorder, and end-of-life care and other circumstances. Typically complex and difficult to treat conditions. We need to sympathize with those people who are dealing with such situations, and their only help may come from the use of psychedelics. So, as if you ask a meditation teacher of the use of psychedelics, they will say, did the doctor recommend it? In that case, they will say use it in controlled doses. But if not, they will not encourage, because the meditation teacher cannot take responsibility of the effects of the use of psychedelics of that person. And we are not licensed to really recommend, prescribe these things to people. So someone said, this is also internet saying, there is no history of the use of psychedelics in Buddhist practice and no obvious place where it would fit. So because of that, most teachers would discourage you to use any psychedelic drug to help your practice. No teacher known to me has said, use this and this will help you. But I think what has helped me so far is to practice seclusion. Seclusion here means actually not over engaging in socializing with people, because that contributes to your mind getting busy with gossiping, learning unwanted stuff. So you practice seclusion mostly living in a monastic environment, and also seclusion from certain thoughts and patterns that can be that can disrupt your mind's peacefulness. And what has helped me so far in terms of subtle anxieties I have felt is the wisdom of it, that this anxiety is not mine. It is a feeling that comes when conditions are present, and this too shall pass. That has helped me tremendously to look at it as not my thing, and also not use psychedelics to alter that experience. Just to accept it and welcome it, let it be, and that it will disappear when conditions disappear. But I think for someone who is using major anxiety disorders, I think change of environment will be recommended. Not facing circumstances where that gets triggered will be also useful to that person. But it's very difficult for people to move away from environments that cause anxiety for them, because sometimes it is a school that they must finish that is causing that anxiety. So they try to put up with it till the end of the term until you get that degree, and that way you will be free from that environment afterwards. But it is to be seen case by case. Different individuals will have different problems that they are facing with, and they may go to a psychiatrist um, so that they get help accordingly. And they may also maybe talk to a doctor intentionally wanting help with some form of psychedelics because their friend or someone they know is telling them this will help you. So then the doctor will recommend it in little doses, and go deeper from there. And Buddhist jhana practices, first jhana to fourth jhana talks about pleasure and joy born from seclusion, and pleasure and that is the first jhana, and then in the second jhana, that is pleasure and joy born from stillness. So these are actually states that are cultivated with the development of the awakening factor of mindfulness. Um, to put it in simple terms again, that there is self-control and mindfulness in those experiences that is expected in a person who is practicing meditation. There's also more understanding of that person that they are pursuing a path of going against the stream. That stream here means a cycle of samsara. And going against the stream leads you to becoming the second, achieving the second goal, that is to becoming once returner. That means they return to the sensual world only to experience it once in that lifetime. And then their next goal will be to become a non-returner. That means they will be born in pure abodes, and they are not going to be born in any heavenly or human sensual realm. And their last goal, ultimate goal, will be to becoming enlightened, so that they don't set their attention on any form of existence whatsoever. They are completely liberated from existence. And I like to maybe end it here. I have, for more details, please read this article by Rick Fields, A High History of Buddhism, which has a lot of details and things that you will like learning about other Buddhist traditions and teachers in modern day talking about psychedelics. Any questions? Maybe your question first. Any thoughts? Or was it helpful at all? Maybe should we do part two about this? um, as you think of questions, I may also read what Alan Watts said. According this is found in this article by Rick Fields' 1996 article, A High History of Buddhism, in which he says Alan Watts was more sympathetic. He pointed out, to begin with, that everybody must speak for himself since so much depended on the mental state of the person taking the chemical and circumstances under which the experiment is conducted. In Watt's case, these had been benign, and LSD had given him an experience both like and unlike what he understood as the flavor of Zen, that is a form of Buddhism. His mind had slowed. There were subtle changes in sense perception, and most importantly, the thinker had become confounded so that it realized, quote unquote, that all so called opposite go together in somewhat the same way as the two sides of a single coin. This, in turn, had led to an experience of what the Japanese Buddhists called Jiji Mogi, the principle of universal interpenetration. That is what Alan Watt said. But also, a Tibetan Rinpoche, according to that article, has said those who are taking psychedelics are lying to themselves, indulging in self-deception. So, burning any substance, for example, burn both, that is, no, he's saying, so forgive me for that mistake. He's saying those people who use psychedelics should burn both. And that, by saying that, he means self-deception and use of marijuana. So they should get rid of both, according to that Tibetan monk. Some Hindu sadhus have or use they smoke ganja, that is also available in Sri Lanka and many parts of South Asia. The government of Sri Lanka has not legalized it so far. According to that article, some monks also smoke hashish, and Buddhists seem to have been a decidedly sober, if not straight, square group. So sometimes someone may say that green tea can be a powerful stimulant to stay awake and that is used in some Buddhist practices. And Japanese also use sake, a liquor. I'm not sure to what extent they use it. And Tibetans have a barley beer that is consumed by monks and lay practitioners in tantric ceremony. So I thought that is interesting to know. Any questions? No questions. Okay, let's say our merits and we can end the session here. But feel free to write to us or bring questions at a later session if you are able to join us. Okay. May the suffering ones be suffering free and the fear struck fearless be. May the grieving shed all grief, and may all beings find relief. May all beings share this merit that we have thus acquired for the acquisition of all kinds of happiness. May beings inhabiting space and earth, devas and nagas of mighty power, share this merit of ours. May they long protect the teachings, protect us, protect our families and friends. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you for coming. May good things happen to you. And I'll be gone for 6 weeks from December 1st through January 13th. But Bante Samita will be here and he'll be doing his programs from Peace House. I will be visiting my teacher and parents. But when I come back, I plan to resume our programs. Okay. Good night.